August 30th, 2003. A Saturday night in Kansas. A family driving home from a wedding, a husband, a wife, and 4 children. Laughing, singing, tired from a beautiful day. They never made it home. In a matter of minutes, a flash flood swept their minivan off the highway into the darkness. Robert Rogers survived. His wife and all 4 of his children did not. Robert Rogers was not a man defined by tragedy. He was an electrical engineer from Liberty, Missouri, a husband for nearly 12 years, a father of 4 for 8 years, a man of deep faith who had met his wife Melissa at a piano in Boston. She dropped a $5 tip into his jar, and he always said it was the best investment either of them ever made. Their family was the kind people admired from a distance and loved up close. They went to church together, prayed together, read the Bible together. Their youngest, Elena, had been adopted from China with a heart condition, a choice that said everything about who they were. On the last night of August 2003, they were coming home from a wedding in Wichita. Full hearts, sleeping children. The last photo ever taken of the family was at that reception. 5 faces, smiling, clustered together in front of white lattice and candles. None of them knew it would be the last. Late that Saturday night on Interstate 35 near Emporia, Kansas, a freak rainstorm had turned the highway into a river. Robert later described it. Water 1,000 feet wide crossing the road. No warning, no time. 7 vehicles were swept off the road that night. Their minivan was among them, carried off the highway and into the darkness below. As the water rose to the seat cushions, the children woke up and began to cry. Robert held Melissa's hand, and in those final minutes, trapped in a van being dragged by 32,000 gallons of water rushing every second, Robert Rogers did something that would later silence journalists, confuse psychologists, and move millions of people around the world. He prayed, he quoted scripture, and he praised God. Robert survived. No one could fully explain how. The bodies of 3 of his children were found the next morning, still strapped into their seats in the overturned van. His eldest daughter's body was found against a barbed wire fence downstream. 3 days later, Melissa and a rescuer who had tried to save the family were found in a retention pond more than a mile from the highway. Robert Rogers stood at the edge of that road the next day, surrounded by reporters and rescue workers. In his hands, a prepared statement. What they expected: anger, collapse, denial, questions for God. What they got was something none of them had ever seen. If there's anything positive that can come from this terrible tragedy, it is to treasure the importance of families. Hug and kiss them every morning and every evening. Tell them over and over how much you love them. The reporters went silent. The question everyone was asking was the same. How? How do you lose your wife and every one of your children in a single night, and still praise the God who allowed it? How do you not curse the heavens? How do you not collapse permanently? How do you speak of hope when you have lost everything that made hope feel real? Robert Rogers answered that question the same way every time he was asked. I held on to God because everything else was gone. He was the only thing I had left to grab onto, and when I grabbed him, he didn't let go. Within weeks of the flood, Robert Rogers made a decision that surprised everyone who knew him. He resigned from his career as an electrical engineer. He founded a ministry, Mighty in the Land, named after a prayer he and Melissa had prayed together over their children, from Psalm 112, verse 2. He began traveling the country, then the world, telling his story, not as a story of tragedy, but as a story of a God who holds you when the water rises. He appeared on CNN, on Good Morning America. His testimony was recorded by the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and distributed to nations across the world. Integrity Music published one of the songs he wrote at the piano. The man who lost the most became the voice that gave millions a reason to believe again. Years later, Robert Rogers wrote these words, "God is a God of restoration." In 2003, my precious wife, 2 mighty sons and 2 lovely daughters drowned in the Kansas flash flood. Now, by the grace of God, He has blessed me with a precious wife, 3 mighty sons, and 2 lovely daughters. This can only be the hand of God. He had remarried. He had a new family, not a replacement, but a continuation of a story only God could write. The book of Job says that after his suffering, God restored everything Job had lost and gave him double. Robert Rogers lived that scripture, not as a metaphor, as a life. Robert Rogers charges nothing for his ministry, no agents, no fees. He goes where he's invited. He tells his story. He plays piano and sings the songs born from his darkest nights. And everywhere he goes, people ask him the same question. How do you keep your faith when God allows the unthinkable? And every time, his answer is the same words Job spoke from the ash heap, stripped of everything. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. You may not face a flood tonight, but you may be facing your own waters, rising, cold, relentless. Robert Rogers wants you to know one thing. Grab on to God, because when everything else is swept away, He is the only thing that holds. This has been Eternal Witness. Subscribe, because every week there is a story like this one, a story that will make you believe again.